The power behind dopamine fasting. Dopamine fasting is an important tool for increasing self-discipline, resetting neurochemicals in your brain. It also helps motivate you by eliminating distractions, which feed you dopamine from the wrong sources. Resetting your dopamine levels can be a way to change your lifestyle. But first, what is dopamine and why is it important? To answer this question, we need to take an in-depth look at this brain neurotransmitter. Dopamine is often considered a pleasure molecule, but that's not exactly what he does. Dopamine is what makes us want things. And it's that desire that gives us the motivation to get up and do stuff. If you're not sure how powerful dopamine is, these are some of the experiments that neuroscientists conducted on rats. The researchers implanted electrodes in the brains of rats. Whenever the rat pulled a lever, the researchers stimulated the rat's reward system in the brain. The result was that the rats developed a craving so strong, they kept pulling the lever over and over for hours. The rats would refuse to eat or even sleep. They would just keep pressing the lever until they would drop from exhaustion. But then the process was reversed. The researchers blocked the release of dopamine in the brain's reward center. As a result, rats became so lethargic that even getting up to get a drink of water was not worth the effort. They wouldn't eat. They didn't want to mate. They didn't crave anything at all. You could say that the rats lost all will to live. But you can see similar effects dopamine has in humans and in our daily lives. In fact, your brain develops priorities in large part based on how much dopamine it's expecting to get. If an activity releases too little dopamine, you won't have much motivation to do it. But if an activity releases a lot of dopamine, you'll be motivated to repeat it over and over. So which behaviors release dopamine? Any activity where you anticipate there's a potential reward releases it. But if you know there are no immediate rewards with the behavior, your brain won't release it. Dopamine is so incredibly important for your drive and for you achieving things in life. For someone who uses a lot of online porn, as soon as he opens an adult website, the reward system thinks that what's going on the screen is a real opportunity for sex, and the dopamine levels shoot up. This also happens during real sex, but the difference is that what happens during real sex is that dopamine levels start dropping after a while, and that's normal. This is how it's supposed to be. This also happens with porn. The dopamine wants to come back down after a little while. Unlike real sex here, you can override that natural satiation mechanism by clicking to a new clip, and so the dopamine shoots back up again. But then that new clip becomes boring after 30 or 40 seconds, and the dopamine starts to drop back down again. Then you keep going from one video to another, sometimes for a very long time, perhaps hours. And by doing this, you are overriding your brain's natural satiation mechanism. And here's where it gets scary. When you override your natural satiation mechanism like that, your brain will start to protect itself from all the excessive dopamine. And it does so by killing off a few dopamine receptors. Now, in order for dopamine to be able to do its job, it has to bind to those receptors. And if you keep blasting your brain's reward system with adult sites on a regular basis, you will get fewer and fewer receptors, and this is what porn addicts has been doing for years. As a result, they suffer from a defect in the dopamine system in the brain.